If you want to be confident speaking Spanish, if you want to be confident, if you want to be confident, if you want to speak Spanish confidently, what was that line? If you want to speak Spanish confidently, if you want to speak Spanish confidence. Let's talk about it. When I first went to do a language exchange in Spanish, I was terrified. My heart was racing and my hands were shaking. It was more than 10 years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday because the emotions were so intense. I went to meet up with a guy from Spain downtown in Melbourne, the city where I was living at the time, and we spent 2 hours walking around and talking in English and Spanish. In the end, it was a really fun experience. He was a really nice guy and he was really patient with me. I remember sitting on the train ride home afterwards thinking about what had just happened. I remember that I didn't really learn much Spanish that day, but I learned a lot about myself. In my head, I was asking questions like, why was I so afraid? What caused my heart to race and my hands to shake? Was it about embarrassment? Was it about shame? Or was it all just simply a lack of confidence? Now, having taught Spanish at Real Fast Spanish since 2013, I've spent a lot of time thinking about confidence because it's something that students ask me about all the time. And in order to teach it, I've had to study it in myself and in others. How have I developed confidence and how have I seen others develop it as well? Well, when I say confident, who are some people that come to mind? When I think about confident people, I often think about actors and sports professionals. Both types of roles require performing in front of other people, which really does require confidence. And the first thing that we can learn about confidence by observing these famous people is that there are two kinds of confidence. External confidence, the confidence that we project to the world, regardless of how we feel internally, and internal confidence, which is how we feel internally regardless of how we look to the world. Now, while these two can be related, this is a really important distinction because we're going to need different strategies to improve them. And I also think that there are situations where there is value in not projecting external confidence. For example, coming across as shy or nervous can actually be a really good way to connect with someone if they're feeling that way too. So for the rest of the video, we're going to focus on internal confidence because I think it's what most students want for their Spanish when they ask me about confidence. Now, switching gears a little bit, while we are talking about internal confidence, we still haven't got a good definition of confidence itself. Confidence is like words such as fluency or greatness, none of which have a good definition, which makes them hard to go after and set as a goal. Now, when someone says that they really want to be fluent or they really want to be great at speaking Spanish, in order to get that, they first need to describe exactly what that means. Now, looking in the dictionary for confidence, we can find words associated with confidence such as a feeling, a consciousness, a faith, or a belief in one's own abilities. Again, these words are really hard to connect with in a concrete way, so we need a different approach. Several years ago, I was watching an interview with an Australian footballer that I really admire, Chris Judd. He was the type of player that performed better when the stakes were higher. When it came to the finals, when the pressure goes up and there is more to play for in terms of trophies at the end of the year, he regularly put in his best games of the season. So when the interviewer asked him about confidence, I actually grabbed out a pen and a piece of paper to write down what he said because it was such an interesting response. He said, confidence is the memory of past success. And this is a fascinating definition because it doesn't rely on faith or belief or a feeling. We can simply draw on our own memories. If we have had a Spanish conversation go well in the past, then we can draw on that for confidence in the present and the future. Now, I have students screaming at me, Andrew, what if I have never had a conversation go well before? Well, here is where we need to shift gears again. One of the most fascinating things that I've seen as a Spanish teacher over the years is that Spanish ability and confidence can be completely disassociated. I've seen students with very high Spanish ability and very low confidence, and I've seen students with very low ability and very high confidence, and I've seen everything in between. This means that I can't just tell you to improve your Spanish abilities and this will result in more confidence, because I've seen that that doesn't always work. And part of the problem here is that two students could potentially reflect on an identical interaction and walk away feeling very differently about the success of that conversation. For example, imagine two Spanish students meet a Spanish teacher and the interaction goes something like this. Hola. Hola. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Estoy muy bien. ¿Y tú? Muy bien. Gracias. ¿Dónde estás? ¿Dónde, ¿Dónde eres? Una palabra más. ¿De dónde eres? Muy bien. Soy australiano. Now, the two students could walk away from this identical interaction feeling very differently. Yeah, so I had this conversation with my teacher, and I asked him, I sort of said hi, I asked him how he was, and then I asked him where he's from, and he said he was Australian, and I reckon the conversation went real well. I'm feeling pretty good about it. The whole thing was in Spanish, and it worked well. So I tried to have this conversation with my teacher, and I guess I said hi and how are you, but then after that, I tried to ask him where he's from, and I said, ¿Dónde estás? I said, where are you? Instead of where are you from? It was just, it was such an embarrassing mistake. I don't know how I'm going to learn this language. I'm so bad at languages. That was just an absolute disaster. So student 1 perceived it as a real success and can build a lot of confidence from the interaction, and student 2 may walk away feeling less confident than when they started. It all has to do with how they perceived their own performance. So what do we do about this? Well, we need to look for small wins. Student 2 was very focused on the ¿Dónde estás? And the ¿De dónde eres? Mistake and missing it, but they really did nail the first part of the conversation. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? They said that really well despite a few pauses. They can then think to themselves, you know what? I nailed that first part and I'm going to nail the second part next time. Then moving forward, they can build a bank of memories of successful interactions, which will give them more confidence for future interactions. Now, this has certainly been the case for me. Now, I've been studying Spanish for the better part of 20 years, and I've been studying French for 4 years, and I only started learning Italian this year. And I can say that my very first interaction in Italian, I wasn't nervous at all. I was actually really excited despite my level being really low. I remember I had a chat with a Spanish native, went for about half an hour. I made a ton of mistakes. I had to switch to English multiple times. I had to ask, can you repeat that multiple times? But I walked away thinking that I'd actually learned a lot and I'd actually got a bunch of things right despite my level being really low. So there were parts of the conversation that went well, and so I can just think about those and build confidence for future interactions in Italian. So as you can see, we can start building confidence at any skill level. We don't have to be really advanced to feel confident. And if you want to improve your confidence in your own Spanish, you need to start to build memories of past success. You need to try to have some interactions in Spanish and then look for the small wins and then bank them. Think about the things that went well so that you can draw on those moments for confidence in future interactions. And of course, it goes without saying that improving your Spanish skills in general can really help with this process because you'll have more opportunities to have conversations go well, which means more opportunities for successful memories to add to your memory bank for confidence. So my challenge to you is to try to organize some interactions in Spanish in your life and then reflect on the parts of those interactions that went really well. And then notice if you start to feel more confident over time. And if you're interested in learning another important tip about mindset when it comes to learning Spanish as an adult, check out the video over here where I talk about the 6 skills of language learning, an embarrassing mistake I made in French, and the 2-minute rule.